Kieran Thalor. The rain tasted of iron and regret, as it often did in the coastal city of Ethel. Kieran Thalor, spent my days tending the small observatory perched above the harbor, less concerned with charting constellations and more with listening to the whispers the starlight carried. It wasn't a science, not really. More a resonance. A feeling that everything, the smallest grain of sand to the furthest galaxy, was connected by threads of light, and that those threads spoke, if one knew how to listen. The city below hummed with a melancholy energy, a quiet acceptance of the endless grey. People rarely looked up, preferring the damp solidity of the cobblestones under their feet. I preferred the emptiness above, the vast, indifferent beauty of it all. It was a peaceful existence, a solitary dance with the cosmos. The disruption arrived not as a bang, but as a silence. The starlight flickered. It wasn't a physical dimming, not one measurable by instruments. It was a disruption in the song. The threads felt frayed, almost broken. And then, the dreams began. Not my own, but fragments, glimpses into the lives of others, a fisherman losing his net, a baker burning his bread, a child weeping over a broken toy. Each dream was accompanied by a coldness, a sense of loss. I never experienced anything like it. Old Man Hemlock, the harbor master, claimed the sea was restless, unusually quiet. But I knew it wasn't the sea. It was the stars, or rather, something affecting the stars. Something was unraveling the delicate balance, and the fragments were falling into the dreams of those below. I could have ignored it, retreated further into my observations, convinced myself it was a fleeting anomaly. But the dreams grew more vivid, more insistent. The coldness became a weight on my chest. I remembered a story my grandmother used to tell, a myth about the starlight weavers, celestial beings who maintained the cosmic threads. She said when the threads frayed, a weaver would descend to mend them. It was just a story, of course. But the resonance within me, the feeling of interconnectedness, urged me to act. I decided to follow the fragments, to find the source of the disruption. I packed a small bag, my grandmother's worn star charts, and descended into the city, abandoning my observatory for the labyrinthine streets below. I would seek out those whose dreams I'd witnessed, hoping to find a common thread, a place where the light was breaking. The search led me through the shadowed alleys and bustling marketplaces of Ethel. Each person I spoke to carried a piece of the broken light, a sense of aimlessness, a quiet despair. The fisherman spoke of empty nets and a growing fear of the sea. The baker lamented the loss of his inspiration, his bread now tasteless and bland. The child, little Onya, simply cried, unable to articulate her sadness. The common thread wasn't a place, but a feeling, a hollow ache in the soul. I followed whispers of a reclusive artisan named Silas, who crafted intricate glass sculptures set to capture the light of the stars. People claimed he'd grown withdrawn, his work losing its brilliance. Reaching his workshop, I found it shrouded in darkness, the windows boarded up. A chilling silence emanated from within, a silence that felt wrong. Breaking into Silas's workshop wasn't difficult. The door was merely bolted, not locked. Inside, the air was thick with dust and a strange, metallic scent. The sculptures were distorted. Once vibrant and luminous, they were now fractured, their light dim and corrupted. And then I saw it, a device, constructed from glass and metal, humming with a low, unsettling energy. It was drawing the light from the sculptures, channeling it into a single, obsidian shard. Silas emerged from the shadows, his eyes vacant, his face gaunt. He confessed he'd discovered a way to capture starlight, to distill its essence into a tangible form. But the process wasn't what he'd imagined. It wasn't creation, but extraction. He was tearing the light from the fabric of reality, and the consequences were rippling outwards, affecting the dreams of everyone in Ethel. He hadn't intended to cause harm, only to understand the light. A tragic ambition. Disabling the device proved more difficult than I anticipated. It was protected by intricate energy fields, and Silas, driven to desperation, fought to defend his creation. I wasn't a fighter. My strength lay in listening, in understanding the flow of energy. But Silas was relentless, fueled by a misguided belief in his work. I was overwhelmed, knocked to the ground, the weight of the obsidian shard pressing against my chest. As darkness closed in, I felt a profound sense of failure. I hadn't been able to save the light. I hadn't been able to save Silas. The dreams of Ethel, already fragmented, began to unravel completely, dissolving into a chaotic void. I realized then that understanding wasn't enough. Sometimes, one must act, even if it means confronting darkness within oneself. Struggling to breathe, I focused not on the device, but on Silas. I reached out, not with force, but with empathy, projecting a vision of the unraveling dreams, the suffering of the city. I showed him the emptiness his ambition had created. For a moment, he resisted, clinging to his belief in the power of extraction. But then, something shifted in his eyes. He saw the consequences of his actions, the pain he had inflicted. With a trembling hand, he deactivated the device. The energy fields collapsed, the obsidian shard shattered, and a wave of light flooded the workshop. The fragmented dreams began to coalesce, slowly, painfully, restoring a sense of wholeness to the city. Silas, exhausted and broken, collapsed beside me, weeping. He hadn't intended to destroy, only to possess, and in his pursuit, he almost unraveled everything. The city slowly healed. The fisherman returned to the sea with renewed hope, the baker found his inspiration again, and honest laughter echoed through the streets. Silas, stripped of his ambition, dedicated himself to repairing the damage he had caused, using his artistry to restore the light he had stolen. I returned to my observatory, but things were different. I no longer simply listened to the starlight, I actively sought to nurture it, to amplify its resonance. The rain still tasted of iron and regret, but now, there was also a hint of something else, a subtle sweetness, a quiet hope. I understood then that the starlight weavers weren't celestial beings, but ordinary people, each capable of mending the threads of light in their own way. And as I gazed up at the vast, indifferent beauty of the cosmos, I knew my work had only just begun.